I am so excited to craft with you as we make this elegant rose bouquet together. So this is designed to go along with the kit that's available on my website, but of course anyone's welcome to follow along if you're using the shapes on my website and are able to cut it out on your Cricut Maker. So I have enough shapes in your kit to where if you need extra, there's extra for you. And if you ever run out of petals or need more for some reason, please let me know and I will send you more for free, because I really just want you to have a beautiful finished product and enjoy these felt flowers. This specific bouquet has 3 of the same flower, so I'm going to go over how to make it. This is the center petal shape, and we'll need 5 of these for each flower. So we start with rolling this up as tight as we can. I like to roll from my left to my right because I'm right-handed and will pick up my glue gun with my right hand. Once I get to the end of the strip, put a little bit of glue and then continue rolling until it's fastened at the ends. And I have this center completely rolled up like that. And if yours isn't as tight, don't worry. You can try again before fastening it with glue, or it also looks pretty a little bit looser. If you want to take some pliers or some tweezers and kind of grab the center and twist it a little bit more to make yours a little bit tighter, if you need to, you can definitely do that. But I promise it's going to look so pretty at the end as we follow each step. So don't get too worried about each petal going on perfectly, because we can just trust the process and know we're going to have a pretty finished rose. For the second one, I start where I ended and attach the side and just twirl it around, keeping the bottom lined up. So I'll do that for each of these centers, and I do a line of glue along the bottom. Oops, got out of the camera a little bit. Start where I ended and then wrap it around. And this is just pretty layered look was what we have here. Okay, so glue along the bottom, find the spot, start and twirl it around. And I do like to count out 5 petals for this flower because I tend to lose track. It's a little bit harder to see how many we've done. So I usually count those out ahead of time, and I know when I've gotten through my pile that there's 5 attached. So here is the center of our rose. Now we're going to use these flat circles, and the reason these are flat on the bottom is to decrease the height of the petal. I don't want them as tall as a full circle, so I had trimmed off the bottom before cutting it out. And we're going to do 3 layers, and the number of petals can alter a little bit depending on how much you overlap, so I gave you plenty of this because you may have more or less than me, and that's okay. We start by adding glue up a little bit on the side and then down and about halfway or a little bit more, leaving this part of the petal without glue. We're picking anywhere on this circle to attach it, lining up the bottom. So we have a flat rose. We're going to always just line up the bottom. And we have this flap hanging off. I'll show you what to do with that in a little bit. For this next petal and for the rest of the petals on this layer, we're doing glue all the way across the bottom. And I am overlapping this as much or as little as I want to, just to give a layered look. So these are overlapping a little bit, and yours may overlap a little bit more than I do or a little bit less, and that's great too. So overlap and then press it down. And I'm realizing I kind of have too little space here to add a petal, but too much to where it doesn't meet. So I'm just going to scoot this over to where the overlap is a little bit less, so I can get this to come all the way around. So you have a few seconds before the glue sets to adjust. So now, since I have this little flap here, I was able to press this last 3rd petal of the row or of the layer down, and then use this flap, add a little bit of glue, and put it over the top of that last petal. So we have a continuous circle of petals, over, under, over, under, over, under. And that just looks really natural. Then we're going to do a second layer of the same shape, leaving that flap on the first petal of this layer, and choosing the spot to where this semicircle fills in the gap in front of it. So this crosses over, these 2 petals cross over and leave a dip. And so I want that circle to peep through there. and just look really pretty and layered. I don't want to put it directly behind the petal in front of it because then it looks a little bit too stacked. So then I'm just layering the rest of the petals on this layer, overlapping a little bit, glue along the whole bottom because I'm securing the whole bottom of this petal down. And I will use four petals on this layer. So we've got this last petal right here. Secure it underneath the flap, go back with our glue gun, and add a little bit and put it over the top. Okay, we have one more layer of petals. There's that glue with a little bit left off, picking a spot where I like the way it looks to where it's layered but not stacked. I want it to kind of have a like a peak and valley kind of look, like a flowy look instead of mirroring it right in front. So as like I see right here, you know, there's a really neat spot for this to just overlap a little bit and peek through. And if I want to, if I look at that and think, yeah, I'm going to adjust this a little bit that way or a little bit this way, I can do that. And you can decide, you know, where you want it to look or where you want it to go and how you like the look of it. Okay, so I'm just going to add another petal right here. My glue gun, my glue stick, I had to push it through. It was not connecting. Okay, so over here and then underneath that flap of the first petal we had added to the layer, giving us that continuous circle of over-under petals. Okay, so you can kind of see how it's looking so far. And now we are ready to add our full circle. So I use 6 circles for this last layer. I add a semicircle of hot glue, pick a spot, and attach it. And once again, it's all flat, lining up with the bottom here. Okay, do a semicircle of glue for this full circle. And I overlap less. I barely overlap on these full circles because our flower is getting bigger. So we need more circle to reach all the way around. So I'm overlapping less. Picking here, that spot there. Little smiley face of glue. A little bit of an overlap. I've got 4 petals so far and I have 2 left. And the nice thing about this flower is, you know, everything doesn't have to be super even. So if you feel like some of your petals overlap more than others, that just adds to the overall look of the flower and is really pretty. So don't worry about that. This flower has a lot of petals and it's just really nice and full. Okay, so I'm going to go back around and look for any spots that may need a little bit more glue if I didn't go up far enough on the side of the circle. Now is when I can just adjust that and secure it as high up as I want it to go. So if I didn't add enough glue, now's the time to just go back and add more. Because sometimes my circle's flopping too much to the side. Okay, so to get the elegant, what I call the elegant style of the pinched petal, what we do is we flip it over and we're going to add a tiny line of glue with our detailed tip glue gun, just a little bit right there to the back of the petal. So this is the side that faces out. Now I'm just pinching and holding that. And you do need to hold this for enough time to where it really is nice and secure without popping open. Okay. And if you don't pinch it quite long enough, or if it doesn't get dry before you let go, then you can just go back and add some hot glue, like tuck some hot glue in there with your detailed tip and pinch it again. It's not a big deal at all. That happens to me because I get impatient and I think, oh, I've held it long enough, and it just wasn't quite long enough and I need to go back and add. We do want it to be nice and closed. Okay, so I do this for each of the 6 petals. And this will be our last step for this flower before we add the stem and the back. to the leaves, or the green back to the flower, and then add the leaves to a stem, and I'll show you how to do that too. So this is the same way you'll make each of the 3 flowers in your kit. And there we go. Okay, so this is the flower back, the part that will cover our stem. And what I like to do first is just cut a slit in the middle of this by folding it in half, using our scissors just to cut a little slit right there in the middle. Okay, and then that'll be ready for our stem to poke through in a little bit. I am going to use these jewelry pliers to make a spiral. Okay, so I'm grabbing the end, hooking it down, rotating it, and making it spin into a spiral. And this is going to be the base that we add our flower to. Okay, so I've got this circle started, and it's easier for me to stop using the pliers. Just put my finger there, my thumb on top, and turn, and just spin this around with our wire. And for this rose, it is a little bit bigger of a flower, so we want a decent sized base for our rose, but not too big. Like, we don't really need it much bigger than that. Okay, so then I'm going to push my wire straight up, so it's facing up towards your face, and then across the center. Then I grab my jewelry pliers, put them in the middle, and bend the wire back up towards you. Okay, so now we have a spiral that we turn and is a base for our flower. Okay, so now you don't have to do this first. I tend to just slide this on. So now that it's on, I can see where I want to put my flower. And don't worry if it's not right in the center. We can just kind of spin to get it looking right. Put the glue on, and then put the flower on top. And I turn it over so I can make sure that my leaf is completely covering the back of the flower. And then I just turn in whatever way is most comfortable for you. It's a little bit awkward to show on the camera, but hopefully you get the idea. And I just add glue to each of the 4 leaves, keeping in mind that I want to make sure that they cover the whole back of the flower. And this can be a little bit tricky. If part of your rose is showing on the bottom and the leaf kind of gets scooted over to the side, it honestly will not show once you get it into your bouquet and in a vase. So don't worry about that if, that doesn't work out perfectly for you. Sometimes I'll mess up on an order and just keep the flower for myself because I know, I won't be able to see it. Okay. There we go. So we've got our rose on a stem, and we'll do that for each of our 3 roses. These are the supplies we need for each of the rose stems. We'll do a total of 2, 3 leaves, the main wire, and then the skinnier wire. So we take our thin wire and attach a leaf to each end. I lay the wire on top of the bottom of the leaf, put a little bit of glue, and pinch it closed. And I just love adding the greenery. I feel like it just really brings the bouquet together. It's a fun step. Because the flowers are pretty, but the greenery just really adds a lot. Okay, so do that to each end. And I've got this ready to go. We'll twist it around the main wire in just a second after we add the leaf to the top. And you really could do this in any order. This is just how the kind of the workflow I have for adding these. You can play around with the leaf style too if you want to adjust it some. Okay, so I pinched it around the main wire. Then I am ready to twist, and I usually get this started with one side shorter than the other and twist one side over 3 times at least. 3 times will keep it nice and secure. And you can decide, do you like how far that sticks out, or do you want to twist it a little bit more? So I can twist it again and make it a little bit shorter and twist this side, and then adjust how much they're sticking out this way or up. It really depends on how you like it. Okay, so here's your leaf stem and a rose for you. And once you have your bouquet finished, you can style it in a vase with greenery or however you want to display it. It is so pretty. I've had this one sitting out at my house and I've really been enjoying it. So I hope you love your rose bouquet. I'm always happy to help with any questions, social media, email, whichever is easiest for you. So don't ever hesitate to ask. I love talking about felt flowers and I love crafting with you. So thank you so much for buying the kit, and I will talk to you soon.